Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to watch this video. I am Carly Osborne, the Education and Awareness Specialist for the Washington State Employee Assistance Program. And this is the second micro training in our Wednesday Wellness series that began last week with strategies to maintain productivity throughout the day, boosting energy and vitality in the morning. Today, we are focusing on boosting energy and vitality in the afternoon. And the reason that we are focusing on that is because for many of us, we experience what is known as an afternoon slump. This is the part of the day where our body demands a break. It's making everything feel like it's an effort to do. And it's because we see our energy and productivity declining during this part of the day. So what leads to this? What causes our afternoon slump? There's actually several common causes of afternoon fatigue. And if you hear something on here that maybe isn't contributing to yours, that is okay. But typically, what we see is it's part of our natural circadian rhythm, which is our body's natural sleep and wake cycle. So that helps regulate our sleepiness and wakefulness throughout the day. And typically, with our natural circadian rhythm, we see a strong sleepy stage kind of hit us between 1 and 3 p.m. Other common causes can include sleep deprivation, or maybe you just didn't sleep well the night before. It can be dehydrated because when we don't have enough liquid in our body, our cognitive function decreases, our muscles don't want to work, we get tired. And then it's also related to things like changes in our blood pressure, blood flow to the brain can slow, blood sugar crashes. We might also see a crash due to sugar intake. Maybe we've had too much caffeine. If you're someone who's, used to drinking 5 or 6, 7 cups of coffee in the morning, it might be triggering the release of cortisol, which affects our energy and alertness. But what happens is when we take in too much caffeine, we overload our body with our cortisol and it kind of leads to fatigue. So there are some common causes, such as the ones that I listed, but these also impact our productivity and mood. So what we see is productivity decreases. We become irritable, grumpy, angry, sleepy, tired. We might find ourselves zoning out. We can't focus, lack of concentration, all of those things. So when we're talking about increasing our energy and making ourselves vital in the afternoon, it's because we're working hard to overcome that afternoon slump. And for the rest of our time here together, that is what we will focus on, are the tips that we can use to overcome our slump. I've chosen some of the ones that repeated the most in the research and articles and other videos I watched on this subject. So we're going to start with some light physical activity. So what we have found is that there are some benefits to short exercise breaks in the middle of the afternoon. It does boost our energy. It can help improve our focus, and it can even help reduce our stress. Interesting thing to note, when we're feeling tired and kind of sluggish and just, not running at our best, we often find that our stress levels increase. But how we can overcome that in the afternoon is with some simple activities. So things like taking some stretching breaks. That can be anything done at your desk, arm circles, neck rolls, shoulder rolls, some tricep stretches. There are some resources at the end of this presentation, which you'll have access to, that give some suggestions for some simple stretching that we can do. We've also found that taking a short walk can help a lot. Exposure to fresh air and sunshine can really boost our energy levels and help us overcome that urge to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon. And in addition to stretching, there's also some desk exercises. So things like tricep dips or hamstring stretches, little things that we can do, walking in place, jogging in place, that we can do at our desks that can help increase that physical activity as well. Because when we're active, we are definitely more energized and we're better able to focus and get through our afternoon. And interestingly enough, what we also know is that having a healthy afternoon snack can help. What this does is having a snack in the afternoon keeps our body fueled, and it can also help offset those energy dips. With these snacks, typically this is a good time to reach for a snack that has vitamins, minerals, fibers, maybe even a really solid hit of protein. So things like yogurt or a piece of fruit, crunchy vegetables. And ideally, we're going to want to avoid sugary snacks. I know that if you're anything like me, when you're super tired, you got to push through the afternoon, you don't want a carrot. You want that chocolate bar, you want that bag of gummy worms, whatever that might be. We're not inclined to reach for something healthy. And that's okay if every now and then that's what you reach for instead of that lovely carrot sitting on your desk. But just remember that if you do choose to eat a snack that contains a lot of sugar, you are likely to really feel that slump much later in the afternoon, which might affect your ability to sleep at night. So whenever possible, reach for that healthy snack. If you do have a sugary snack, make sure you do things like get up and walk around to help combat the inevitable sugar crash. Another thing that we can do is help make sure that we are hydrated. We talk about hydration a lot. We did spend a little bit of time on it with our morning routines video about the importance of waking up with water. And water is great for us, absolutely. But in the afternoon, it's okay to reach for things like a cup of tea, iced or hot, depending on the weather. Or maybe you are someone who enjoys a small glass of natural fruit juice, or you might be someone who can actually handle drinking caffeine-free, sugar-free sodas, making sure that you're staying hydrated and doing what you can to reduce the exposure to sugars and caffeines can help us get through that afternoon or that afternoon slump as well. Now we're going to talk about my favorite suggestion, and that is the power nap. I know so many of us fought naps when we were kids. We didn't want to sleep. We were missing out on everything. And unfortunately, we don't get a pass to make up for that as adults. But research does show that a nap can help counteract the natural post-lunch dip in energy, which, is the afternoon slump. And what this does is it helps us to overcome the decrease in focus and productivity that we experience. So when we're looking at power naps, we're aiming for a nap that is no more than 30 minutes. Most people aim for 20 to 30. Some can go as little as 10. But we aim for no more than a 30-minute nap because that can help significantly boost our alertness and concentration. And it helps make us more efficient for the rest of the day. And this is especially helpful for someone who might not have slept well the night before. So whenever you can fit that in, I used to work with someone whose hour-long lunch break was pretty regimented, 15 minutes spent eating, then they would spend 10 minutes doing a breathing exercise or just kind of zoning out. Then they would take their 15-minute power nap, wake up, kind of walk it off and go back to work. And it really seemed to work for them. They always seemed to feel more energized. They didn't act like the rest of us who were ready to fall asleep at our computers at 2. So again, the benefit of a power nap really does show that it can help us overcome that afternoon fatigue. We also know that breathing can help us overcome an afternoon slump. What many of us don't realize is that when we're feeling tired, especially when we're at work, it can lead to overwhelm. It can lead to us feeling anxious or stressed out, which affects our natural breathing rhythm. So we might find ourselves breathing a bit more shallowly than we normally would. Some of us might even start holding our breath because it's kind of shown that when we're under stress that we kind of stop breathing and tend to hold ourselves very still. So by taking a few moments to intentionally breathe, what the research is showing is that by engaging the diaphragm and filling the lungs with oxygen-rich air, deep belly breathing stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes relaxation and also increases energy levels. So what we want to do is when we have time, we just take a quick minute to do that. It doesn't have to be a big production. It doesn't have to be a super long process. And 2 things that really work are box breathing. That can be done pretty simply where you breathe in for 4, you hold your breath for 4, you release your breath for 4, breathe in for 4, hold, and you repeat that pattern 3 or 4 times. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4. For people who struggle with holding their breath, because that can be something that causes an anxiety reaction or just makes people feel uncomfortable, you can also just try regular deep breathing through your diaphragm. And this is the type of breathing where as you breathe in really deeply, you're lifting your chest and your stomach kind of pokes out a bit. And then when you release, you feel like you kind of collapse. So your shoulders come in. And you can do that a few times, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever you need. And usually after that, we find that we breathe normally and we've had some more energy. Our brain's gotten some more oxygen and we're good to go. And if we also take the time to combine that with some of those stretches that we talked about earlier, so that neck roll or that tricep stretch, that it just doubles the benefit of helping to breathe. Now we're getting our physical activity, our stretching along in with our breathing, which is incredibly helpful. There's also another tip that I ran across through a lot of the research, and that is that while time management in and of itself really can't impact how much of that afternoon slump we might deal with, what it has found is that effective time management can help maintain afternoon productivity. So that means that we're taking the time to prioritize our high priority tasks, we're breaking larger tasks into smaller steps, and we're also using time management techniques. And just because I like to add interesting things into my presentations, while I was researching this, I found that for those of us who tend to have projects where we have to collaborate with other people, that in the afternoon, we are typically more open to collaborative work because it helps keep us accountable to other people. So, we're not sitting at our desk falling asleep. But one study, which is linked in the references, even said that showed that 2:30 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon is the optimal time to host a work meeting or a collaborative work session, because that's just when we best overcome that slump. So I'm not sure what the science behind that is, but it is linked in the references if you want to read that. So just some interesting things to note, that time management can help us get through the afternoon better, and that we are often more collaborative and able to work with people in the afternoon. So let's go ahead and focus on 2 time management techniques that I think you might find useful in helping you work through our afternoon slump. We're going to start with the Pomodoro technique. It is a popular time management method. It can help us stay focused and productive. What it does is it helps enhance our focus and concentration by creating a sense of urgency. It also reduces mental fatigue by encouraging regular breaks. And this is how we can help maintain our productivity during the day, especially in the afternoon. So this is how the Pomodoro technique works. You choose a task that you want to work on, so whatever that might be. You set a timer for 25 minutes and you work on that task until the timer stops. So as soon as that 25-minute timer hits, you stop what you're doing. You get up and you take a 5-minute break. That can be a walk around the room, time to go make that cup of tea. It can be some stretches, or even just, saying hi to a colleague or staring off into space. But you do that 5-minute break. Then you come back and you focus again for another 25 minutes, whether it's on the same task or different task is your choice, but you'll repeat that process 4 times. So 25 minutes of work, 5-minute break, 25 minutes work, 5-minute break, 4 times. And then what you're going to do is at the end of that 4-step routine, you're going to go ahead and take a 15 to 30-minute break if you are able. If you are not able to take a longer break at the end, what I suggest doing is focusing for that 25 minutes, start with 1 5-minute break, focus for 25, another 5-minute break. The next 25, increase your break to 10. So, increase it in 5-minute intervals that work for you. And if you can't ever increase it more than 5, that is okay too. What we're doing by this is that we are creating that urgency by setting a time limit. We are only working for 25 minutes and then we're stopping, which really helps us find that energy, that drive to get through through whatever it is that we're doing, so that we are more productive. So that is the Pomodoro technique. We also have a technique called time blocking. Time blocking is a powerful time management technique that involves scheduling specific blocks of time for different tasks or activities. This method helps you manage your time more effectively, and it can reduce distractions by providing a clear structure for your day. So here's how we can implement time blocking. We can begin by listing all the tasks and activities that we need to accomplish. If you joined me for our energy in the morning routine, where we talked our energy in the morning presentation, where we talked about creating a morning routine, this might be a fantastic task to add to our morning routine as our time blocking. But we list all the tasks and activities that you need to accomplish them. We estimate the time required for each task. We allocate specific time blocks in your calendar for each task. And then we stick to the schedule and only adjust as needed. So that means for those unexpected things that pop up, the work emergency, family member, you have to go home because someone's sick, we account for those exceptions. And what this does is time blocking provides a clear structure for the day, which increases our accountability, not only to the people that we work with, but to ourselves. And it can also help reduce procrastination because, well, we've got it on a list. And if you're someone like me who loves checking things off of lists, this is great. And this just really helps lead to that better balance that we need between our work and home life, which also helps us overcome that afternoon slump. Because if we know we've got something on our schedule that afternoon, we are typically more likely to do so. What's also really great about time blocking is that you can schedule yourself some break time. So if you need that 20-minute nap during your lunch break, schedule it. You need a 10-minute break in the afternoon to go take a walk, schedule it. It's your schedule, make it work for you. And those bring me to the end of the highly suggested tips and pointers that I found for helping us overcome that afternoon slump. So just to kind of recap and bring everything home, what we discussed today is we discussed the importance of some light physical activity to help us overcome the fatigue that we might experience in the afternoon. And that's things like stretching, taking a walk, some desk exercises. We also discussed breathing and how when we are feeling tired, which can increase our stress levels, we tend not to breathe normally. So taking the time to intentionally breathe, especially while stretching, can really help bring us back into focus and help us be productive. Hydration is important because when our bodies are running on empty, we are not able to function at the level we would like to. Our cognitive abilities are impaired, our physical abilities are impaired. So making sure that we are maintaining hydration through liquids that are not based on sugar and caffeine. We discussed power naps. Again, 15, 30 minutes, 10 to 30 minutes, aim for what works best for you. Just take that nap. Research shows it helps boost our energy and get us back on track in the afternoon. And then, of course, time management. For some people, you get to that afternoon, you suddenly feel like you don't know what to do with yourself, which can lead to the sleepiness, or we find ourselves distracted because we're not sure what we want to do because, we're just not feeling it right now. But making sure that we've taken time management and scheduled things helps create some urgency and avoid procrastination, which increases our productivity and can also kind of help us forget about that feeling tired. And we did suggest 2 techniques that might work. So we had time blocking and the Pomodoro technique. And that concludes our, boosting vitality and energy in the afternoon and overcoming that slump. If you're interested in learning more, I did share some additional resources. Again, you might find that these are not applicable to you, but they are a great jumping off point to look more into this subject. And as I mentioned, the resources that I used to reference throughout this presentation are listed here. So things like the 13 ways to beat the afternoon slump, harnessing the power of breath to beat the afternoon slump. These are all easily available through those links. Please check them out if you would like to. And I want to thank you again for spending some time here with me today. If you need to reach out to the Washington State EAP, our contact information is there. And thank you. Have a great day.